living and working on the moon. While NASA astronauts used the moon buggy for the last 3 missions to get around, what if there was eventually a huge moon base to navigate? Then you would use the travel tube, a subway system for the moon. It was created by a 1970s sci-fi television show. This is the story of the Space 1999 travel tube system, the best way to get around for moon commuters. Hi, this is Jeffrey. Now, back in the late 1960s and into the 1970s, living and working in space was all the rage, and this was very well reflected in many movies and TV shows of the era. One such TV show was Space 1999, which was produced by Gerry and Sylvia Anderson as well as ITC. Now, Space 1999 took place on the sprawling Moonbase Alpha, and one of the most interesting aspects of Moonbase Alpha was how you get around it. And how did you get around Moonbase Alpha? Well, it was by travel tube. And what was the travel tube? It was sort of like a subway system for the moon. And so that's what we're going to look at in this video. Now, similar to my Super Train video, I'm not going to talk about the TV series. I'm only going to talk about the travel tube system. It's a really interesting story. So let's get started in learning about the Space 1999 travel tube system. The late 1960s and 1970s saw grand schemes for moon bases and near-Earth space stations, as seen in the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey and the TV shows UFO and Space 1999. As NASA made 6-manned moon landings by 1972, all of this seemed quite possible. Given the grand size of these structures, a safe way to travel around them would be needed. So, what would such a transportation system be? For Space 1999's sprawling Moonbase Alpha, the answer was the travel tube! The TV show's travel tube is loosely derived from London's tube lines, with its distinctively rounded-shaped trains and tunnels. The idea also appears to be based on the VAC train proposals by Robert Salter, an American engineer who worked for the RAND Corporation and is now more commonly known as the hyperloop. The travel tubes provide fast transit between sections of the base and to the launch pads. There's approximately 19 travel tubes emanating from the base, with several more branches from the main lines. It's possible there are 2 parallel tubes on at least some lines to allow cars to pass in either direction, but this is not fully clarified in the show. To use the travel tube, Alphans would key in a destination to their comlock, point it at the tube door keypad, and be automatically taken to their destination. But in 2 episodes, Alphans use either the door keypad or communications panel to start or stop the tube cars. Access to and from corridors is through double-sliding side doors, with 1 set on each side of the car. Access to an Eagle spacecraft on the launch pad is through the end door. This opens into the boarding tube, which leads to the passenger module of the spacecraft. All of the tubes are on the surface, with no elevated lines for higher floors of the base, and all exterior travel tube structures are rectangular in profile. Every route line is straight, with no curved tracks. Some of the junctions of radial and orbital lines have a building with perhaps a turntable, but some do not, with a sharp right-angled turn. Now, let's take a look at some of the basic specifications of the travel tube. Number 1. Interior of each car is 20 feet long by 10 feet wide. Number 2. Diameter is 13 feet. Number 3. Interior floor to ceiling height is 8 feet. Number 4. Passenger capacity is seating for 6 in Season 1 and 4 in Season 2, and could accommodate up to 10 standees. Number 5. Motive power is probably a 2-rail maglev system in a partially pressurized tube with vacuum propulsion units at the end of each car. Number 6. Number of vehicles in the fleet is not known, but would probably be between 25 to 50 tube cars. And finally, number 7, top speed is about 125 miles per hour. The idea of the travel tube for the TV show was a must. According to Keith George Wilson, production designer for Space 1999,
while we wanted a similar look and feel to Stanley Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey, a defined and practical way to be transported throughout Moonbase Alpha was a requirement, and so we developed the travel tube, a sort of subway system for the moon, as a unique piece of Space 1999 set design.
For the interior, in Season 1 there are 6 seats, in Season 2 there are 4. Seating was provided by the Toga chair, designed by Sergio Mazza in 1968 for Artemide. As mentioned previously, there is one end door. At the opposite end of the car's interior, there is a communications control panel with 2 black and white CRT screens. The floor is raised with sloping ramps down to each of the 3 doors. The walls have a brown pattern texture, which is probably carpet tile. Other interior design elements include metallic trim, white vents, and a light bar that indicates the direction of motion. Large lighting panels curve over the ceiling edges, and there's a map or schematic of the travel tube system over each of the 3 doors. Externally, we never see the end of a car without a door. Possibly each travel unit has a symmetrical shell for ease of manufacturing, and one door is non-functional when the interior is installed. The end door has straight sides on the interior, but on the exterior, it's angled. When traveling, the forward side is illuminated with white lights and the rear side with red lights, much like current railroading practice. There are 2 rails along the tube, one at the top and one at the bottom. All entries to the travel tube are clearly marked with the travel unit number, and some entry doors have additional signage. And best of all, the fare is free. While there may not yet be a base on the moon, at least we know there will be subways when we finally get there. And so there it is, the story of the Space 1999 travel tube system. Now, I personally am a big fan of this show, and I know it's not perfect. I know it has its issues, and there are some very good documentaries out there about the making of Space 1999 if you are not already familiar with the show. Now, I wish they would have defined the travel tube system a little bit more, providing more technical information about it, because there are still some unanswered questions about the travel tube system. So, anyway, I hope you enjoyed this look at the Space 1999 travel tube system. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. Bye.